Hey guys, this is Matt and you're watching TV Punch for Tuesday, October 27th, and today I'm going to talk about The Flash, Season 2, Episode 4, titled The Fury of Firestorm. As usual, I'm going to run through some quick hits and then hit the major plot points that we saw in this episode. So with that said, if you haven't seen the episode yet, pause this, go watch it, come back, you'll be glad you did. But there's really only one quick thing I'm going to mention, one quick hit, and that is the appearance of King Shark at the end of the episode. Who saw that coming? So he was only on screen for about 30 seconds, obviously because he was so expensive. He was all CG, and he looked really good for being a network show. We're not going to see a full King Shark episode, at least I don't think so, because they've got another Grodd episode planned soon, and that's going to take a lot of the budget. But yeah, for the last 30 seconds of the episode, we see King Shark. He's really just used as a means for Barry to run into Dr. Wells, Earth 2 Dr. Wells, that is. But it was still really cool to see. I liked that a lot. Hopefully we see him again. He wasn't killed off or anything, so I'd like to see him come back. But yeah, King Shark on The Flash. Nobody saw it coming, and it was awesome. So one of the major plot points that we get in this episode, this episode primarily focuses on Firestorm, if you couldn't tell by the title, and really serves as a way to get us the new Firestorm and move us into Legends of Tomorrow. And I'll talk more about that here in a few minutes. But basically in this episode, we see Martin Stein. He's still not feeling too well. So Team Flash goes out to find him a compatible match, almost like an organ donor, if you will. They realize that he needs to fuse with somebody. His atoms or molecules or however it is they explained it, they didn't have anything to bond to. So that's why he wasn't feeling so great. Let me stop right there for just a minute and just go ahead and admit, I didn't love this episode. I thought the way that they went about finding a match for Martin Stein was kind of sloppy. So they essentially found two matches. They found Henry Hewitt and they found Jefferson Jackson. These were the two guys that they somehow determined were compatible with Martin Stein. And they aren't really subtle about it. They go visit both of them and they essentially tell them, hey, come back to Star Labs. You can try to merge with Martin Stein, and if you do, you get superpowers. You can fly around, you can shoot fire out of your hands and all kinds or nuclear blasts. I'm surprised that, and there's even a scene where Henry he's actually looking at the Flash suit in Star Labs, so he knows that they're all working together. I thought it was very, very sloppy. They weren't subtle at all about it. There was no secrecy, no nothing. Just, hey, come see if you're compatible, and if you are, great, you can start being a superhero and fighting crime and get awesome superpowers and fly around and stuff like that. We know that Jax, he calls himself Jax in the show. We know that Jackson was the one chosen because we've seen the stills and the previews and stuff. Jefferson Jackson actually was a character from the Firestorm comics. Very, very lesser known. He's a friend of Ronnie Raymond's. His origin in this show, he sort of feels like he's part Jason Rush and he's part Victor Stone. So, he's part Victor Stone because he was a football player. He got hurt. He couldn't fulfill his dream anymore. So through various circumstances, he becomes a superhero. Maybe it's just coincidence. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to get part of that. Maybe they're trying to blend those two worlds. I'm not sure. I do like his character in this show, so don't get me wrong. I like his back and forth with Martin Stein. I like how they play off each other. Martin Stein is a scientist. Jax is definitely not, and they make no bones about that. So I like the way they play off of each other. But I thought the whole thing was really rushed. It takes him a while to accept the bonding with Martin Stein, and it's actually Henry that tries to merge first, and he's not compatible. But in doing that, unlocks his meta-human abilities. And then he serves no other purpose than for the new Firestorm to sort of test his mettle on and to take him down. We didn't even really get much of the Flash in this at all. And that's okay. I mean, the supporting cast is really strong. But this episode was all about Firestorm and all about getting us to Legends of Tomorrow. And again, I'll talk about that in a minute. But it just wasn't up to par with the rest of them. Henry Hewitt, he was the other match. He just turned evil way too quickly. They wrote him off as kind of an arrogant scientist anyway, but when he found out he had these powers, he wanted to be bonded with Martin Stein to be part of the Firestorm Matrix, and just, I don't know, he just turned evil so fast. And at the end of the episode, they wrapped it up with a nice little bow saying, "Oh, he burned himself out. He has no more power." It just didn't work for me. Like I said, I do like Jax. I do like this new Firestorm a lot. I think he's going to be a lot of fun on Legends of Tomorrow. But the way they got there was just too quick and too sloppy for me. So we get some more story with Iris's mom. Iris finally meets her mom this time around, and this was a great scene with Iris and her mom, and Joe was there too. But Iris very, very, very well spoken, saying that I appreciate you showing up. I understand why, but I've lived my life without you for this long. I don't need you here. Please leave. And she just basically walks out. And we find out later that Iris's mom is dying, supposedly. And I think she's telling the truth there. She's dying. That's why she came back. She wanted to see Joe and Iris one last time. But in a later meeting between Iris and her mom, Iris tells her mom that she dug up the fact that her mom has a son. And presumably it's Joe's. That wasn't really answered for sure, but I think that's the intention, was for it to be Joe's. Now Iris is going to have this secret. She said she doesn't want to tell Joe because she doesn't want Joe to basically know that there was a son that grew up not knowing him. So she's going to keep that secret from Joe. Obviously it's going to come out at some point. But she's going to have a secret of her own for a while, which is a nice role reversal because last season it was Barry and Joe who were keeping the secret from Iris, and now it's flipped. But I don't want to overshadow the fact that Iris's mom has a son. They didn't say his name in this, but we all know it's Wally West. So in the comics, Wally West is Iris's nephew, but in the show he's going to be her brother. So that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. We know he's going to be a speedster at some point. I'm interested to see what Iris's reaction to that is going to be. But so that's a big change to the comics that I think kind of makes sense in this world. It's okay. I'm not too upset with that. But we finally that was a nice reveal that we got. We finally learned what their relationship's going to be. Now we just have to wait and see when Wally's going to show up. So one thing I have written down as a plot point is Earth 2 Wells breaking into Mercury Labs. Now, I don't think his breaking into Mercury Labs is the plot point just so much as it's more Earth 2 Harrison Wells. And like I mentioned a few minutes ago, he helped the Flash he actually didn't help the Flash. He actually took down King Shark with some kind of gun that he stole from Mercury Labs. He was the one that took down King Shark, which caused Barry to stop him, and that's how they meet. So we don't get a lot of him in this episode, but next episode looks to be very Harrison Wells heavy. I did think it was funny, though, that you have Earth 2 Harrison Wells just wandering around Star Labs, even though they were so proud of themselves in the season premiere for upping the security. Nobody's going to get in here who's unwanted, but yet Harrison Wells is walking around. So not a lot from him this week. It's not even a major plot point this week, but it does set up next week where we're finally going to get a lot of Earth 2 Wells. I'm really excited to see what Barry's reaction and what Cisco and Caitlin, what's their reaction going to be. From the previews, we know that he's from Earth 2, so I don't think they're going to go blaming him for everything that happened, but I think it is going to make them uneasy for a while just because of everything that the Earth 1 Wells did to them before. So I'm going to throw in one opinion. It's not really a plot point, but just something I wanted to mention. I feel like they've been kind of using some poor storytelling in order to get us to Legends of Tomorrow. So last week in Arrow, you had the resurrection of Sarah Lance. Laurel was adamant that Sarah gets thrown in the Lazarus pit and brought back to life, even though you had Malcolm and Thea and Nyssa and everybody else in the world telling her it's not a good idea. She sees the negative effects that the Lazarus pit has on Thea, yet she still wants Sarah to be put in there to come back to life. It's totally out of character for her. Well, I say that. I guess it's not out of character because she's always wanted her sister back and felt she was robbed of her. But it's just... It made Laurel's character a little bit unlikable because of that happening, because she was so adamant about that. It was a little sloppy. I kind of feel like they could have done that a lot better. This episode, we get a whole lot of... It's just really quick. Oh, here's a new guy, and he just so happens to be compatible with Martin Stein, and he just so happens that now he's Firestorm, and he's taking down another generic bad guy. I just feel like they're trying too hard to get to Legends of Tomorrow, to get these characters set up for Legends of Tomorrow. And that's really kind of frustrating because these shows are so good. It's like they have their eyes way on down the road and they're not focusing on what's right in front of them. And I kind of wish they'd take a step back and focus on what's here and let us get to Legends of Tomorrow naturally. The only exception to that is last week's Flash, which gave us some really nice character building for Captain Cold. The whole purpose of that episode, and for his father being there and his father being such a bad guy, is to show that Captain Cold, he's a bad guy, but he's not a bad guy, and he does have some compassion. So I did like that, but it was a character that we've been introduced to before, and Wentworth Miller does a great job playing him. So they had more to work with, I guess, but with that one exception, I just feel like they're thinking we've got to hurry. The mid-season finales of Flash and Arrow coming soon. The winter break's coming soon. We've got to hurry and get to Legends tomorrow. We've got to hurry up and establish these characters, and I wish they would just slow down and let it happen naturally. But that doesn't take away from these shows because they're both excellent. And even though this episode of Flash wasn't my favorite, that honor still goes to episode number 2 of this season so far. I still am loving this show and am going to be covering every episode as it comes out. So if you want to see those videos, subscribe by clicking the button below. Or if you're not watching this on YouTube, you can check it out on youtube.com/nerdpunch. Of course, you can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Both of those at nerdpunch. And you can check us out at nerdpunch.com where we're posting other cool stuff that we find online. And you can also check our schedule there as well for upcoming videos. I'm still behind on several of them. Walking Dead, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it seems like there's a couple others that I'm behind on, but they'll be coming out soon. But until then, I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.